It's 3:14 a.m. The world is silent, shrouded in the heavy velvet stillness of the deep night. You are lying in bed, drifting toward the soft edge of unconsciousness, when it happens. Without warning, your brain's internal archives fly open. A file is pulled from a dusty, forgotten corner of your temporal lobe. It is a memory from 11 years ago. You are standing in a crowded room, and you have just said something so profoundly awkward, so socially catastrophic, that the memory of it hits you like a physical blow to the stomach. Your eyes snap open, your heart rate spikes. You let out a small, involuntary groan into the darkness. You are experiencing the cringe. It is a visceral, agonizing, and seemingly purposeless haunting of your own making. But why does the most sophisticated biological computer in the known universe insist on torturing you with your own highlight reel of failures? This is not a glitch in the human operating system. It is a feature. We like to think of our brains as objective record keepers, neutral librarians of our personal history. They are not. Your brain is a relentless, high-stakes investigator. It is an internal governing body with a singular, ruthless mandate: your social survival. When you cringe at a memory, you are witnessing a sophisticated piece of biological software performing a post-mortem on a perceived threat to your status. It is an audit of a transfer error in the currency of human connection. We are the only species capable of feeling intense physical pain from a thought that occurred a decade ago. We are haunted because we are designed to be. The question isn't why we remember these moments, but why our biology refuses to let the wounds heal. This is the investigation into the internal surveillance state of the human mind. To understand the cringe, we have to look at the immediate aftermath, the core problem. When you experience a social blunder, your brain doesn't see a minor slip of the tongue. It sees a breach of contract. It sees a violation of the rules that keep you safe within the herd. In the world of high-stakes football, a single administrative error can lead to a club's financial ruin or a points deduction that lasts for years. Your brain operates on a similar, albeit more primitive, logic. It treats your social reputation as its most valuable asset, and any threat to that asset is treated as a Tier 1 emergency. The proof of this lies in the architecture of the brain itself. Neuroscientists have discovered that the brain does not distinguish between physical pain and social pain. When you stub your toe, a region called the anterior cingulate cortex fires up. When you are excluded from a group, or remember a moment where you made a fool of yourself, that exact same region lights up like a flare. This is the shocking proof of our internal biology. Your brain is literally using the same hardware to process a broken leg as it is to process that time you called your teacher Mom in the 7th grade. This isn't a metaphor. To your nervous system, social rejection is a wound. But why the intensity? Why does the memory of a bad joke feel like a hot needle? To find the answer, we have to look at the internal governing body of the brain, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. These two systems are in a constant, silent war for control over your narrative. The amygdala is the alarm system. It is ancient, fast, and incredibly loud. It doesn't care about nuance. It only cares about threats. When you remember a cringe-worthy moment, the amygdala triggers a mini version of the fight-or-flight response. It dumps a small amount of cortisol into your system. It makes your skin flush. It forces you to pay attention. The prefrontal cortex, the more modern part of the brain, tries to rationalize it. It tells you that nobody else remembers that moment. It tells you that it doesn't matter. But the amygdala is louder. It demands that you relive the shame so that you never, ever repeat the mistake. This is the social death theory. For the vast majority of human history, being an outcast meant literal death. If you were kicked out of the tribe, you couldn't hunt, you couldn't stay warm, and you certainly couldn't defend yourself against predators. Your brain evolved in an environment where cringe was a warning sign of impending exile. The physical pain you feel is the brain's way of saying, "Do not do that again, or you will die alone in the cold." We are living with the hardware of a survivalist in the body of a modern citizen. The system is calibrated for a world of life and death consequences, but it is being applied to the trivialities of modern life. We are being governed by an internal federation that still thinks every social error is a capital offense. This is the core of the problem. The punishment no longer fits the crime, but the internal auditor doesn't know how to lower the stakes. It only knows how to scream. If we dive deeper into the historical expansion of this phenomenon, we see that the cringe is actually a sophisticated learning tool that has been repurposed by the modern ego. In the timeline of human evolution, the development of the autobiographical memory was a turning point. This is the system that allows us to create a narrative of our lives. It's what gives us a sense of self. But this system has a massive, inherent flaw: the negativity bias. Our ancestors didn't need to remember the 99 times they found a nice berry bush. They needed to remember the one time they saw a snake near the river. Survival favors the pessimist. Consequently, our brains are wired to prioritize negative information over positive information by a factor of about 4 to 1. This memory tax is the price we pay for being the apex predator of the planet. When you look back at your life, your brain isn't looking for the moments where you were a hero. It's looking for the moments where you were a bad actor in the social script. It is looking for the red cards of your past. This historical mandate has created a biological ledger that is heavily weighted toward our failures. Think of it as an internal financial report. Your successes are seen as expected revenue. They are nice, but they don't require much analysis. Your failures, however, are unforeseen losses. They require an immediate audit. They require a deep dive into why they happened and how to prevent them from happening again. This is why you can receive 10 compliments and 1 insult, and you will lie awake thinking only of the insult. The insult is a data point that suggests a flaw in your market value as a social being. The brain is obsessed with fixing that flaw. But there is a second, more subtle reason for the cringe: the discrepancy of the self. When you look back at an old memory and feel that wave of shame, it is actually proof of growth. You are cringing at your past self because you are no longer that person. If you didn't cringe, it would mean you haven't learned anything. It would mean your internal standards committee hasn't updated its bylaws in a decade. The cringe is the friction between who you were and who you are now. It is the sound of a system upgrading itself. However, the brain doesn't deliver this information as a "congratulations on your growth" notification. It delivers it as a "why were you like this?" interrogation. It uses the calm outrage of a prosecutor. It forces you to look at the evidence of your former inadequacy. It's a brutal way to run a psyche, but from an evolutionary standpoint, it's incredibly effective. By making the memory painful, the brain ensures that the lesson is burned into the neural pathways. You don't just know you shouldn't have said that thing, you feel that you shouldn't have. The pain is the teacher. This wasn't a series of isolated mistakes. It was exactly how the system was designed to work. We have arrived at the wider implication of this biological dictatorship. We are currently living through a period of unprecedented social inflation. For the first time in human history, our cringe is no longer private. In the past, if you did something embarrassing, it existed only in your head and the heads of a few witnesses. Eventually, those witnesses would forget, or they would die, and the debt would be cleared from the record. But today, we live in the era of the permanent digital ledger. Social media has turned our internal cringe archives into a public library. Every awkward tweet from 2011, every poorly lit photo, every edgy phase is stored on a server in Nevada. We are the first generation of humans who cannot truly forget. This has created a massive imbalance in our psychological health. Our brains are already hypersensitive to social failure, and now we are living in a world where those failures are indexed and searchable. The institutional power of the internet has weaponized our natural tendency toward shame. This has a devastating effect on the wider implication of our social development. Because we are so afraid of the cringe, we are becoming more risk-averse. We are self-censoring. We are terrified of the internal auditor, because we know that the external auditor, the public, is always watching. We are living in a state of constant social surveillance, both from within and from without. The brain's ancient survival mechanism, designed to keep us safe in a tribe of 50 people, is now being triggered by a global audience of billions. The stakes have become impossibly high. The money flows of our social capital are being drained by a system that was never meant to handle this much data. We see this in the way we treat public figures. We cancel people for the same types of transfer errors we all have in our own private archives. We have turned the cringe into a weapon of institutional power. We use shame to regulate the behavior of others, just as our brains use shame to regulate our own behavior. But while the brain's goal is survival, the internet's goal is often destruction. We have taken a biological tool for growth and turned it into a digital tool for execution. This brings us to the final, most unsettling truth. We often think of our memories as a way to hold on to the past. We think they are for... But they aren't. Your memories are for your future self. Your brain doesn't care about the past. It is an investigative architect that is constantly building a model of the future. It uses your old cringes as building blocks for a safer version of you. It is trying to build a person who is unassailable, a person who never makes a mistake, a person who is perfectly integrated into the hierarchy. But that person doesn't exist. The perfectly uncringe human is a biological impossibility. To live is to make errors. To grow is to look back and be embarrassed. The broken promises of our youth are the foundation of our adult wisdom. The brain's refusal to let us forget is its most cruel and most vital gift. It keeps us humble. It keeps us connected. It keeps us human. The devastation lies in the realization that you will never be free of this system. You cannot opt out of your own biology. You can't fire the internal auditor. You can't close the archives. As long as you are growing, you will continue to produce new cringe. The person you are today, the one you think is refined and sensible, will be the source of a 3 a.m. wake-up call in the year 2035. You are currently creating the very memories that will make you groan into your pillow a decade from now. We are caught in a loop of perpetual self-judgment. We are the prosecutors, the witnesses, and the defendants in a trial that never ends. We spend our lives trying to pay off a social debt that our brain refuses to settle. We look for a quiet observation or a way to make peace with our past. But the system isn't designed for peace. It's designed for vigilance. It's designed to keep you looking over your shoulder at the person you used to be, terrified that they might catch up to you. The next time you feel that cold shiver of shame, that sudden cringe attack, don't try to fight it. Don't try to argue with the internal auditor. It won't listen. It's just doing its job. It's just a tired, ancient piece of software trying to make sure you don't get kicked out of a tribe that hasn't existed for 10,000 years. It's a specific kind of sadness, to be haunted by a ghost that is trying to save your life. You are lying in the dark. The memory fades, leaving only a lingering sense of heat in your cheeks. You take a breath. You close your eyes. You try to sleep, knowing that the archives are never truly closed. Somewhere in the deep recesses of your mind, the librarian is already reaching for another folder. The audit continues. It will always continue. The debt is never fully paid.